I would like to invite up Judi Mahaffey. She's going to share what St. Peter's means to her, so as part of our stewardship. So thank you, Judi.
Whoops, sorry. Pull this down so everybody can hear me, because you'll all be so riveted. You've got to hear it. And I promise it's not AI. Won't be as good as AI, actually, probably. May surprise some of you that my first time coming to St. Peter's, I didn't want to be here. I wanted to go to St. Timothy's, and I was not happy about coming in, and I let everybody know about it. I was 5. At coffee hour, though, I met Jennifer Atlee, Father Atlee's daughter, and Lois Budelsbacher, both of which we were the exact same age, and we became fast friends. The next morning at 10 a.m., there was a knock on the front door. It was Father Atlee, and as you heard from Patty, he was very famous for doing that. He came in and talked a while and asked my mother if we were planning to leave our parish of St. James Irvington, and she said yes. So Father Atlee told my mother he would like my father to come to St. Peter's and direct the acolytes, as he did at St. James, because he was so good at it. My mother said, "I'm sure he'd love it, but you have to ask him, not me." He then asked my mother to join the choir. And he said, "I know you have a great voice." He and my mother were very fast friends. He lived around the corner from my grandparents, and he came around 3 days a week because he was assistant at St. Timothy's when she was sick after she had me for about 2 years. So they were very friendly. So he asked my mother to join the choir. He said, "We meet Mondays at 7 p.m. And my mother said, "Well, as much as I would love to join the choir, I have a meeting at 7 p.m. on Monday evenings twice a month. And you know you can't be a good choir member if you only attend 2 choir practices." Father Atlee then said to my mother, "Do you have a meeting on Thursdays at 7 p.m.? And she said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Good, the choir now meets on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Would you join?" And she said yes. So that's how the choir is now meeting still on Thursdays at 7 p.m. I went to Sunday school here every week with the same children, first through like 7th grade. And we had the exact same teachers, Mrs. Stark and Mrs. Goodwin, because for some reason they liked us so much, they wanted to keep moving with us. So we had great times. We even did the Sunday school crafts if they were going to take a long time on Saturday mornings at one of the teachers' homes, and they had us for crafts and lunch. They must have liked us. I was also in the youth group for many years. From parties to ice skating and camping, we did it all. I love the parties and the ice skating. However, this is where I got my motto for camping. I think everyone should buy a Winnebago and travel from Hyatt to Hyatt to see the country. However, I understand Hyatts are expensive. I can't afford them either. So any place that gives you a free warm breakfast. After growing up in the church, I became active joining St. Mary's Guild, and then was St. Mary's and St. Peter's Guild because we added the men. And we did many things like the rummage sale, the church dinners, and our annual Christmas bazaar. I was also in the altar guild 3 times, and one of those times we didn't have a sexton, so we had to clean the church. So we started at 8 a.m. and we ended 3 p.m. or later. So I'm thinking of adding sexton to my resume. I taught Sunday school from 1992 to last year. I did live in Iowa for 7 of those years. However, because I work for the airlines, I could get back. I wasn't here every week, but I did come for the big events. And I've taught every grade level. And as there is difference with how you react to the children, it's the same great love that you have for all of them, and the response is always so wonderful. And I urge everybody to volunteer to become a Sunday school teacher. And just as an aside, it's great to have children back in the pews. And I know from my own experience sometimes that when they make a noise or they say something, you just wish that the church floor would open and swallow you up. But just remember that everybody else in here loves it. Okay. And I also was a co-leader for the youth group for many years. At first, we had a middle school and a high school youth group, but the high school stopped being active after maybe a year, but the middle school youth group forged forward. And then when the children were in the oldest children, which there was 8 of them, were in the 8th grade and getting ready to graduate to go to high school, they came to us on one of the meeting nights and said, "Do we have to stop this because we're old?" And I said, we all said, "No." "Well, why?" And they said, "Because we want to keep doing this." So we changed the name to the youth group and had grades 6 through 12. And there were some 5th graders who joined us as well, because the children just absolutely loved each other and age never mattered to them. Right now, I work with the Flower Guild and the Squad. I like being able to make arrangements and coordinate events excuse me, that make people happy, invigorated, and raise money for the church. I also like to spread the love of God to people who may not have been treated so well in the past by others, and unfortunately sometimes the church. Or in some cases, they may not know the love of God and the love of people. I've also been on the vestry numerous times and have been senior warden. It may seem like I do a lot for the church, but how has the church helped me? Well, when I had my accident at work and I had to have a back surgery, it was the church that supplied meals for me and my family that I was taking care of, my mother who had dementia and my father who was okay, but he made the best boiled water you'd ever have. So, and when I attended meetings with my mother, because she could no longer stay at home, and I said I had to bring her, I was told, go right ahead. And if you've ever been that caregiver, let me tell you how wonderful it is to hear, just bring her. Not everyone says that. And when my father passed, kind of suddenly, wasn't expected, it was a church who said, we've got it, and did the receptions, did everything. I kept saying, what can I do? And they said, just sit back, we've got you. I didn't have to set it up. I didn't have to clean it up. I didn't have to bring the food. I didn't have to do anything. If you've ever been on that side of it, which I hope many of you have not, but if you have, it's a blessing, a big blessing. And we all have people in our families, and large families, small families, that will sometimes we look at one or two of those people and say, what milkman or mailman could you be related to? Because because sometimes they're just like nobody else in the family. Look-wise, yes, but mentally, sometimes no. I'm happy to say that the people here at St. Peter's are my chosen family. We help support each other in many, many ways without asking, what's in it for me? These are the reasons that I stay at St. Peter's and support this church with my time, talents, and treasures.
Thank you, Judi, for that beautiful testimony.